Okay, hi everyone. Just let us know over here in the chat that you can hear us and that you can see us both. We're going to give it maybe 1 or 2 more minutes just to help people join and give them the time. Thank you for letting us know that you can see us. Yeah, we'll start in just 1 minute. Okay, so we'll let other people join as they come. I am extremely excited about this month's webinar. Because it's Tiffany, who I love and is a brilliant marketer. Tiffany and I met, I think is it 2 years ago? I think. Wow.
We were like pen pals before we ever met. So.
Right. Oh, you can't hear me too well. Sorry about that. I am having problems with my connection. I'll try and make it brief so that Tiffany can start. So as I was saying, Tiffany, and I've been telling you about this in the emails, Tiffany is a marketer that does it all. And in the past few years, she has helped amazing companies grow in some fantastic ways. So I'm really excited to hear you out, Tiffany, and see what you have to teach us today. Without further ado, I'm just going to let you take it away. All right. And get started with that.
Perfect. So today I'm going to be looking over the 6 growth hacks to optimize every stage of your customer journey. But before I do that, here's just a little bit about who I am. I am the founder of flojo.co. You'll learn a little bit about it later, but I'm also a growth marketing consultant. I started a while ago, actually when I was 9 years old, with SEO and affiliate marketing. I started my first affiliate marketing website at 11, which made a lot of money. If you want to hear that story, you can add me to LinkedIn and check it out. But during that time, I also became a full stack marketer. So I started in SEO, went to PPC, moved on to CRO, and worked in companies where they needed help with content and email marketing, and it just kind of went on from there. So I've kind of touched every aspect of digital marketing. Even one of my favorites was a celebrity gossip writer where I hacked Google News for about 2 years. So literally done it all for the last 12 years. In the past year, as a growth marketing consultant, I've worked with over 20 startups. And during my career, I worked for companies like Achievers and Shopify. So had some big startups under my belt. And with the companies that I had worked for, I worked for a publishing company right in the beginning. So because of that, altogether, if you look at all of the websites I've worked with, I've actually worked on over 400 websites from every industry, SaaS to B2B to e-commerce to it all. So this kind of, so that you know, it's coming from a place where I've probably seen it. I've maybe not touched everything or been in every problem, but it's definitely been around me in the past. So let's just move on to a little bit about what growth hacking is. And I know that you're seeing a lot of growth hacking defined, but I still find when I meet people that they don't really understand what growth hacking is. So I went on Wikipedia and I found this lovely definition. Growth hacking is a process of rapid experimentation across marketing channels and product development to identify the most effective, efficient ways to grow a business. It's a little bit lengthy, and I don't like to read big things like that. So the most important area you'll see is the rapid experimentation part and the most effective, efficient ways to grow a business. So just kind of keep that in mind. And if we were to probably define the reason why you're here and the kind of growth hacking that you're looking for, there's a few items that I wanted to point out. So there's a mentality with growth hacking that it's not corporate. It's not, you're not in a place where, you know, you want to move slow. You probably have this thought that, you know what, I'll touch whatever I need to touch to get to the end result. Whatever marketing tactic I'm going to do, we're going to blur the lines between the digital marketing channels. And sometimes when you're one person inside of an organization, you have to kind of touch everything and do that. So your mentality is a lot different than the corporate where I just do one thing and this is my job. And if it's outside of that, I'm not going to worry about it. Next, you have a sense of urgency, I'm sure. And when you're thinking about kind of startups and associations that are more apt to growth hacking, everything should have happened yesterday. So you're probably feeling that as well. And a lot of times, it's not like in a corporation where, you know, you're given a budget and you kind of have to constantly, you know, put in a report to ask for a certain amount of money. And if you're in a startup, and especially one that's just been funded, you have to spend now and you have to get results now. So the kind of money situation in a growth hacking environment is very different than if you're in a big company or an enterprise company. And your goal is probably big, hairy, and audacious. Usually when people come to me because they want a growth hack, they're looking for 100% increases in revenue or increases in leads. And it's usually like, we're already late. Like, we should have done that last quarter. Can you make that happen in the next 2 weeks? So there's always this kind of big goal that they're trying to hit. And so it's leading to that sense of urgency and leading to that feeling like you need to spend money right away. So this puts you in a situation where you have to experiment, fail fast, and then try again. So with this growth hacking mindset, you really need to be okay with testing something out for, you know, a month or, you know, 6 weeks and really trying to figure out, okay, does this work? Yes or no? If it didn't, that's fine. Is there a way you can change it and start over again? Or are you going to scrap the experiment entirely and try something new within the stage that you're in? So there's that aspect of it. And when you're in the growth hacking mindset, you also have to really prioritize. So there's going to be so many options because you have all this freedom in this place that's not corporate with a sense of urgency. You kind of want to touch everything and you're constantly feeling guilty that you're not. So when you're a real true growth hacker, you are really looking at prioritizing things and getting like the 1 or 2 things that you're going to experiment with to try to get the results that you need. So growth hacking defined, here's all the reasons why you're probably here. So what is the growth journey? Now, I believe at some point, all of you are in one of these 6 stages. And this is found in my FlowJo growth hacking box and kind of the way that I categorize growth hacking in general. So the 6 are to think. This is more of a brainstorming kind of a time when you're looking for new ideas or you're trying to get the team together. And we're going to talk about these things a little bit more in depthly, but for now it's kind of getting unstuck and solving a big problem that you might have together. When you're in the acquire stage, you want to be everywhere. You're looking to gain leads and really just fill that funnel as much as you can. And converting is, okay, now that you filled the funnel, let's get them to act. How can we get to from a lead to a customer as fast as possible with the most information that they can have? Next, we look at retaining. How can we keep them coming back? How do you get your customers to really love you enough that they're going to stay with you? And next, how do you get them to love you so much that you get them talking about you to other people? Well, what are the different areas? What are the different ways that you can make that happen? And ultimately, getting paid at the end of the day, really cashing in. So at some point, you might be, and sometimes people are like, you know what? I'm only in the acquire and convert stage. Like I can't even think about retaining customers. That's for someone else. And really you have to think about things like, if I can get my customers that I already have to stay with us, that means cash flow over time. That means that anyone new that's coming into it will mean more revenue on top of that. And also, if you're spending time trying to get your customers that you have to refer you to other people, that's a cheaper lead. And that's also, they're all warmed up and they're ready to spend. So it's a much easier lead to get for your marketing and sales team, and ultimately you're saving money there. So you might think that you're in the acquire or convert stage, but sometimes you have to really step back and go, okay, do we have a good customer base, and can we start looking at them now? So just something to think about when you're trying to figure out what stage of the growth journey is. So I want you to kind of, before we get into this, think about, okay, where am I struggling right now? What's the area that I really want to look in depth? And I would grab a notebook and just kind of write that down, so that, there's so many ideas that sometimes we get, so we want to do everything at once. But I really, really urge you to kind of stick with one area and then move on to that when you've kind of hit whatever goal that you want to reach. If you're struggling, you don't really know, what is your analytics telling you? Do you have a lot of leads coming in? Are they turning into customers, or are you just getting no traffic at all, and you don't even know what's going on, and you really just need to sit back and think about the problems that you guys are having, because you're kind of in the dark right now. So really look at your analytics to see what they're telling you. And ultimately, what's your company's goal? In the beginning of the year, or whatever your year starts, your CEO or founder might be telling you, okay, this is what we need to do by the end of the year. And what happens sometimes is, all this stuff happens, all these events happen, and people forget, okay, that was supposed to be our goal. Do we still have that goal? And if I were you, as a marketing person or a growth person inside of an organization, remember what that company goal was and stick to it. Because even if everyone else is kind of changing the goals around you, no one's going to say that you did a horrible job if you set out to hit the company's goal and you did. So when you look at what your company goal is, which area of the growth journey will really help you get to it? So let's first look at the think side of things. And let's kind of go a little bit deeper into that. So what's in it for me? When you're in the kind of the think stage of your growth journey, you really have some big challenge that you're facing. Maybe people aren't as open to a product that you have. Maybe you just can't seem to not only get leads or convert, maybe no one just seems to be interested in your product. Maybe when you go out and write content, it's just not speaking to people. What are the different challenges and problems that you might be having, and do you need to bring in your whole team together to try to solve it? Goal setting. Sometimes when you're in this kind of think stage, you haven't even come up with a goal yet. So what you want to do is you want to bring your team together. So the think stage is ultimately a lot about bringing your team together and trying to think out certain problems. So that might be that you need to start setting goals if your company hasn't done so. Or sometimes you need to reset goals if, let's say, you got funded. Let's say all of a sudden you got a ton of money that you can spend. Never really happens, but let's say it did for this example. Maybe you want to reset your goals as a group. New product features. Sometimes you don't know where to go next, and you need to come together and create maybe a new product feature based on what customers are asking for, or just where your product will naturally move on to. Blue sky thinking. Sometimes you just need to think outside of the box to come up with some crazy new ideas within the company. And one of my favorite things that I love to kind of tell people are always looking for that next Airbnb, Craigslist type of growth hack. And what I've found is sometimes the best way to get those crazy blue sky ideas is to bring a bunch of people in a room that are either university students or recent grads, give them some pizza, tell them you have a problem, and let them come up with a solution. And sometimes you're going to get these off the wall ideas because they don't even know what the barriers are. They don't know what they don't know yet. So I love getting those ideas, and I never say, that can't happen because of this. I just want to hear them, because you never know when you're kind of going through the process if something is possible or not. So that's kind of that blue sky thinking of, what kind of crazy thing can we do to come up with this idea. And next, sometimes just want to bring together people for a team building exercise. Some of the ideas that I created for the Flojo Things section are just about kind of bringing people together, getting people to kind of be comfortable speaking in front of each other. And really, when it comes to having to solve a problem, you know that everyone feels comfortable enough with each other because of these type of team building exercises that they're willing to kind of speak out and share their new and interesting ideas. So let's look at the first think strategy, which is the domino solution. So this is one of my favorite things. So you're going to state a problem that you have with your team. You're going to ask everyone to brainstorm one way to solve it for like 5-10 minutes. So everyone has their notebook and you're going to solve it for 5 to 10 minutes. Then when they're done, you're going to ask their group to pass their paper to the right or left. And then that new person has to read the idea and expand on it. There's no one's allowed to knock it down. No one's allowed to say that that doesn't work. They're just there to expand on it. And do this a couple times. And what I love about this is you're going to get some really interesting ideas. And when you start breaking it down with your group, and you guys all list all the different ideas that you've come up with, you now have 2 or 3 people within the group that are kind of fighting for the same idea that might not have been theirs to start out with, but because they've added something to that idea, they feel like they're a bit part of it. Another thing that I like about it is sometimes you're stuck in a group that you have someone who's really quiet and you have someone who's really loud. And a lot of the times you listen to the loud person, but you don't necessarily listen to that quiet person. And ideas will end up happening because you got it from the loudest person in the room. In this situation, everyone kind of has an equal chance to come up with an idea, and other people get to kind of weigh in on that idea and expand on it. So you've already created these little clusters of groups of each other so that everyone kind of gets a chance to speak out. And another way that I like to do is, let's say that you do have a brainstorming session where everyone's being asked to, put an idea on the board or whatever, like you have this problem, everyone comes up with ideas. I always ask people to brainstorm first and then actually hand in their papers to everyone and make sure all the papers are all the same color and read them out so that that loud person in the room gets kind of gets to be equal than the quietest person in the room. Because what I found too is a lot of the quiet people in the room are the people that really digest things and listen, and so they might have a completely different perspective than the loudest person in the room. So when you're doing these thinking exercises with your group, really think about how can I make this the most equal environment for everyone to speak, and how can I make it fair so that everyone's ideas get heard and it's not about the most important person in the room or the loudest. So next, let's look at acquiring. We got a little, I know people like the Pooh Bear. This is a little bit of a theme. You're going to start seeing some cartoons all the way through. So let's look at acquiring and what's in it for me. So when you're in the acquire phase, you're pretty stuck on trying to increase leads, really find that target audience, use completely different sources. So you might have really focused on SEO and organic traffic in the beginning, but you might be thinking, okay, I really need to acquire. It's time to look at different sources, time to look at Facebook advertising, time to look at retargeting. So you're just looking for different ways to bring in as many leads, or leads if you're a SaaS company or a B2C company, or just people that are interested in your product if you're e-commerce or B2C, so that you can grab them and not grab them, but bring them in, tag them, and then retarget them later. So this is kind of both sides of it. And how to create really diverse campaigns. So what are different ways that we can acquire people and bring them in? Is it working with someone like Talia with an incredible webinar and seeing new people that you normally wouldn't see? Is it kind of looking at an FAQ of different questions that people have within your space and really building it out for organic purposes? So there's different ways to acquire. So one of my favorite acquiring growth hacks is I call the Stairway to Influence. And we always are talking about looking at different influencers in our space and how you have to go after them. And what people end up doing inside of an organization is it's kind of haphazard. Like people are going every once in a while, they're like, oh, I just got like a tweet from, this influencer. This is amazing. Let's just, keep bombarding them, or let's find someone that they know, or all these type of things. But they don't have a plan around it. So when it happens, they're not really ready for it. So this acquiring campaign is really to know who your influencers are and really create a plan for each step of the way. So one thing that you need to do is actually sit down with your group, and after they're ready for this meeting. So tell them what you want to do in the beginning, but bring together a group of people and ask them to come up with influencers that are the easiest to approach to most difficult. And even if it requires, looking at fans and followers, for example, like, do you know the list of your fans and followers? Do you know all the areas that they're in? Are they in the normal, Facebook and Twitter, but are they in Pinterest? Are people talking about you in a forum somewhere on Reddit? So really understanding where your fans and followers are. And next, looking at your super fans, who tweets you often, and put those names down on a board so that or down in, a Trello board of just knowing who your super fans are. And really understanding why they're super fans, maybe approaching them and asking the questions of what makes them, so interested in your product, and making them feel even more special than they probably feel just tweeting your stuff all the time. The small somebody, so these are the people who may be, they're not really influential in your space, but for some reason they have an amazing following, and a following where people are tweeting at them constantly. So you want the attention from those small somebodies, because if they're going to tweet out something, they're going to have this group of people who are very interested in what they have to say, and they'll do whatever they say. So that's the small somebodies. And then you have your professional influencers. So these are the, the Talias. There's Nicole I see who's in the audience there. These are the people that everyone knows, that are big in their space, and people want. They might be a little bit more difficult to approach, but when they do get approached and they do share information about your service or product, there's a lot of people out there who are going to listen. And then your journalists, celebrities, and other companies. Like, for example, if you're if you're in a marketing space and HubSpot talks about you, that's gigantic. Like, you're probably going to get a lot of eyeballs on your product. Or if it's celebrity, we know celebrity endorsements tend to work really well. And journalists, getting a newspaper writing about you or a magazine is not only great for your brand awareness, but also a nice little SEO tip. It's amazing for SEO, and getting a link back to your site will actually increase your rankings. So sometimes these things are good in two different aspects, not just in growth and brand awareness. So once you kind of have that list of influencers from the easiest to approach to most difficult, start to really look at it and say, okay, how are we going to plan this out? You're probably, once you kind of write down who your fans and all these people are in one stage, you're going to wipe out the whiteboard and you're going to start again. So you're going to say, okay, for our fans and followers, what can we give them? Are there discount codes? Are there ways to make them, what can we do to make them turn into super fans? And on the super fan side, can we invite them to conferences with us? Is there something special that we can send them, that brand merchandise that would make them happy? Or is there an ultra special discount just for people like them? And then the small somebodies, again, is there like some kind of free thing that you can send them, or can they beta test something that you have and then review it for their group? And professional influencers, just maybe it's doing a webinar with a professional influencer, or is it doing kind of speaking with them at a conference, or there's all these different ways that you can kind of meet up with a professional influencer. And then journalists, is it pitching an idea, or celebrities usually paying them, or just companies maybe creating an API or something to kind of gain their attention. And with the best thing about when you're kind of going through this list, you can remember that the fans, followers, super fans, small somebodies, that's a pretty cheap group of people to go after. Once you start getting the professional influencers and especially the top part, you're probably going to be spending some money. So one thing to remember is this is probably going to cost you some money, and it's not a bad thing to create a budget for it, but just know who that budget is going to go to. If your small somebody starts saying, you know what, like, you're going to have to pay me to do something that's outside of, you know, a free trial or a beta, then that's not your goal, and it's probably not going to be worth it. But if you've already decided that your professional influencers and your celebrities you're willing to pay for, then you have that budget that's ready. So this is the one idea of how to kind of get influencers from every step of the way to be interested in your product. Next, we're going to look at converting. So getting people to actually spend the money and pay for it. So what's in it for me here? You're looking to increase sales and sales purchases. So you've already acquired the leads. How are we going to get them to actually buy from you? Next, we're looking at decreasing the cost to sales. So how do we decrease cost per conversion here? If you're already paying a ton of money for the leads coming in, you know, maybe there's different ways that we can tweak it to make sure that you're not spending that much. And converting really is understanding who your customer really is. I mean, Talia talks a lot about, you know, emotional targeting, and that's what leads to conversion for her. And I think it's really important because you have to not only understand who your customer is, but how people think in general to be able to convert. And the more you kind of convert these people and you start looking at your whole funnel in entirety, maybe there's ways that you can remove certain steps. Maybe you have a checkout that's just asking too many questions, or a form that's asking for too much information. How can we hack that down to make it easy to get people in the door? And then we'll worry about converting. We'll look at converting them in different ways later. So the conversion hack is identifying upsells and downsells. So people a lot of the times think, you know, it's all about getting the sale, and they're not really thinking about the number that's attached to it. If you're looking at kind of creating an offer on different levels of commitment, there's those people, and think about the last thing that you tried to buy, and you know, there was a part of you, maybe it's a certain object that, you know, you're really, really interested in, and you were willing to buy anything that that company has to offer. Like me, when I walk into a Nike store, I get a little carried away. I might want sneakers when I walked in there, but you best believe I'm going to leave with yoga pants, a sweatshirt, maybe one of the t-shirts that say Nike that I'll never freaking use. But I obviously am easily a very high committed individual when it comes to Nike. But when I'm buying, let's say, accounting software, I might want the bare minimum until I can figure out what exactly I want. For example, last week I was getting QuickBooks because my accountant made me, and while I was going through the process, I was like, listen, I don't even understand what half this stuff means. I'm going to go and get the least amount of thing that I possibly can. So I looked at probably the lowest level of purchasing because I didn't have that level of commitment. So when you think about your product, maybe it's time to think about what products would really go great with what I'm selling. Is there an added guidebook? You've seen it before where someone's offering, you know, here, get this bonus that's worth $100, and it's a guidebook, or a book that you actually get in the mail, or, you know, something extra. So look at the kind of upsales. If you're in e-commerce, that could be, you know, maybe there's things that go well together. Maybe if you're selling, I'm trying to look around and see, maybe if you're selling a sweater, you want the necklace that goes with it. That's an upsell. So really thinking about what you sell, whether it's, you know, B2B or B2C, and finding different things that you can group together. Or downsell. If people don't want to buy it, what's the smallest thing that they can buy or do to keep them invested? I think it's really important just to get that yes, that one yes, and it may turn into a bigger yes. So if people aren't ready necessarily to buy something, you can extend their trial, let's say. Maybe you can extend a trial for, like, you know, half the amount that they were going to pay for just the first month, and then from there work work on kind of bringing them to be a full customer once they get used to your software. I think it's a really important way to, like Talia just said, get your foot in the door, and also get them a little bit invested in your product. And they'll look at you different because you were willing to do that for them, because you felt that strongly about your brand. Now, bring your team together, create a plan away from the computer on the best way to do this. Sometimes when we hear that, okay, we're going to do this, we start looking up, upsells and downsells online. And one of the big things about growth hacking, we said, was urgency. And sometimes that's the worst way of finding information, is to spend 2 or 3 hours delving into upsells and downsells and realizing you've now just bought something like a barbecue on Amazon and you're kind of gone for the day. So really create a plan away from your computer on how you're going to do this. And if after you've found areas that you probably need more information about, then you can go back to your computer and actually research it. But with a team, this is a great way to kind of get your ideas in play. So next, we're going to look at retaining. So once you have those customers, really keeping them close. And what's in it for me here? When you're looking at retaining your customers, you are reducing churn. With stilettos, I just saw it, with stilettos or jogging shoes. It's probably jogging shoes for me, but I would say Talia is probably stilettos. Okay, back to retaining. Sorry, I was distracted there. Retaining, you're really looking at reducing churn. You're looking at increasing profitability, because the more you keep customers on, like I said before, and you keep bringing new customers on top of that, you're gaining more money across the years. So it's really important to make sure that you can hold on to your customers as long as possible. Or if you're an e-commerce business, keep them coming back and interested in any of your other products that you may have. And be more than a one-night stand. This especially goes for people that are selling kind of one-off things, products or e-commerce, or even some of the kind of apps out there that you might purchase once and people never really think about it again. You want to be more than that one-night stand. Keep them interested and keep them loving your product, because it's important for the next stage of the growth journey. And because when you are more than that one-night stand, you do increase the likelihood of that word-of-mouth referrals, which is kind of our next thing. But it's really important not only to maintain the cash flow from new customers, but also increase it with very warm leads and people eager to buy. Let's look at a retention strategy. Making it light. Think about the type of service that you have. This is mostly for software companies. If is your product right now, when people kind of log in and they start using your product and they might have information that could be there, ask yourself the question, will users lose time, effort, and data by canceling their service? Are they going to lose, a ton of blog posts are they going to lose some tweets that they are really important about? Are they going to lose the analytics of what worked and what didn't work? If the answer is yes, then create a light version of your product. This is a discount for your product, 50 to 75%, and I mean like super discount. And all it does is it allows users access to your data without being able to change it or use your software. So they would just be able to log in, look at the stuff that they have, maybe copy and paste it, use it for something else, but it's there and it's available for them. So they're not necessarily saying no to you, but they're just keeping that door a little bit open for you. And Shopify does this really well. Let's say you've built an e-commerce site, but you're not ready to move on with it, or you're not even know if maybe you haven't gotten your products right, or you don't really want to cancel, but you don't really want to turn it on. They have a very light version where it kind of holds the account for you so you don't lose any of your data, but you're paying a super low amount. I think it might be $50 or something like that. So this is great, because at the end of the day, if you created an e-commerce store, and let's say you canceled but kept it on hold, are you really going to go to the competitor when it's time to rebuild or look at that e-commerce site again? Of course not. You're going to go back to that company that you've already been paying money for and holding. And it's also going to increase your chances of having them come back and actually use your software in the future. And it makes you look good, because if you're willing to let people hold on to their data, I mean, they feel like they haven't wasted that time and energy. So if there's a way that you can create a light version of your product, go for it. Next, we're going to look at advocating. So I think I forgot or left out the Giphy there, but advocate, increase conversion rate and sales. So this is all about your customer is going to be speaking on behalf of you to other people. So this is getting your referrals and getting them, getting warm leads from other people. And what does that do? That increases your conversion rate, because people are coming in, these leads are coming in, and they're more likely to buy. So that increases your conversion rate and your sales as a result. It saves you on marketing and sales time. It's not like you're going to have to pay for them through a Facebook ad or anything, or it's not like your sales team is going to spend a lot of time meeting with them a bunch of times and kind of trying to push them along through the funnel. I mean, they're there. They've already talked to someone else. Decrease the time to purchase. This is a great way to shrink down the normal time that it takes from someone who's just heard about you to purchasing from you. And it's a good way, once these people start coming in and you start learning about them, you might find a similar audience or a new demographic that you never really thought of, because this is who your customers are actually hanging out with. So this is the know when to ask, advocate growth hack. So a lot of times when we are asking for people for testimonials or referrals, there's software out there that, you know, asks on behalf of you, or you might have a drip campaign where you're asking somewhere, and that's great. That's great to have, and it might work for you like 1% or 2% of the time. But remember, automation works, but spontaneous and personal is always best. So find the right opportunity to bring people in order to ask for referrals. So if a customer reaches out to you and they're just like, you know what, I just love your product. I think your product's amazing. I just wanted you to know that. Now's the time to maybe ask them, you know, do you know anyone who might be interested? Can you offer a testimonial? This is the right time. Don't wait for your drip campaign to ask them, and don't feel like you can't ask them, because I mean, they're reaching out for you for a reason. They're that interested in you. They're your super fans. So really look at those opportunities and use them for what they're worth. And really ask nicely. Don't be like, well, then you have to give me a testimonial, or how come you haven't referred me lately? What have you done for me lately, type of thing. Really just ask nicely, can I have a testimonial, a referral, or introduction to someone that they might be related to? And be ready. So right away, in order to get started on this advocate, you should already have an introductory link or a landing page that speaks to what you do, that's ready for referrals, maybe a referral package or discount that they can look at, or maybe you have a landing page that offers not only a referral discount for the person that's giving the referral, but also their friend that they're referring. So just be ready for that before you start being able to take in those opportunities. Last but not least, we're looking at cashing in. What's in it for me? It's pretty self-explanatory. We all want to be Scrooge McDuck over here with his vault of gold. So let's look at a cash-in strategy. And this one's called expanding your reach. So a lot of the times we might be making money, we're doing well, but we're kind of hitting a plateau. And it's at this point we need to find new ways to expand our reach. So one way is geographical or demographics. So looking at different locations, looking at maybe maybe you've been targeting men the whole time and you realize females are a big part of your demographic. Maybe it's age that you weren't expecting, or just looking at those different areas. Maybe adjacent industries. So start expanding. Maybe you've created a API or informational guide for an adjacent industry, or something that you can link your product with. Maybe it's time to look at their audience and see, not only talking with the company and maybe partnering with them, but even just looking at their audience and seeing if you can send ads to them and see if you can get any of their attention. New platforms. If you've been working, let's say, only on Apple or iPhones, can you work on Google phones as well? Can you create a new platform, maybe looking at Pinterest, the buy button for e-commerce instead of just doing it on Facebook? Like, what are new platforms that you can extend your reach on? And maybe you have a company, it seems like it's unheard of, but it might happen, or a business, a small business, where a mobile experience might actually be useful, and that you might not have thought of. Or maybe there's a better mobile experience that you can bring people through before they go into their an app that you already have. So that's kind of a neat, interesting way to expand your reach as well. Or if you're e-commerce, looking at different fulfillment options. One of the things I was surprised with my own product, Flojo, was that I had a lot of people from Europe that were interested in purchasing it when I was really just targeting US and Canada. And I started looking at fulfillment options right away and seeing, is there a way to fulfill in Amazon UK instead of just Amazon US and Canada? So definitely looking at different fulfillment options is a good way to expand your reach. Or if you're a small business and let's say you have a brick and mortar, can you do home delivery? I mean, it could be as simple as something like that. Is there ways to expand on your deliverability, or even adding a small touch to gain new people's attention? So now that we're kind of towards the end, let's summarize a bit. Again, really think about, in the beginning, I asked you to look at which area of the growth journey that you're in, and really think about, where are you struggling? What's your analytics telling you? And what's your company's actual goal before you kind of go into which area you think is the most important? And I would suggest leaving this and really kind of thinking about this question and letting it process for about a day to really think, okay, do I really need to acquire, or should I be getting my customers to advocate for me, for example? It might not be what you think. And how can you make it work for you? So how can I make these different hacks work, or in different areas of the growth journey? Really focus on one problem. So at the end of the day, you have your goal that you're trying to hit, and that might be because you have a retention issue. Focus on that for a few months. Like, take the quarter to really see, okay, can I move the needle in this one way? Instead of spending 1 week on acquire, 1 week on convert, 1 week on advocate, you're never going to really experience any real growth unless you focus on one problem. And create a goal when you start out. You might have your company goal, but in 3 months, what are your expectations? And what is considered a good expectation, a very good, an excellent, or a horrible? Like, write that down before you start, because that will help you decide at the end of that period of time that you're focusing on it, did this really work? And how well did I do? And sometimes we think we're failing because we didn't hit that big goal that we wanted, but maybe you're still at the good level. Like, maybe that kind of gives you the confidence to know, like, okay, this did work. I didn't push needle as much as I maybe wanted to, but I did get, at least with my boss or with my leaders, I did get to the good level. And see it through. Don't give up. So if you're going through and you've decided on certain experiments and trying different things out, don't cut out and get kind of distracted by whatever's happening. Startups move so fast. There's always something interesting. And what I've found by being in them is that the people that have really focused on the one or two things and kind of just took everything else out of the mix are the ones that got the biggest results at the end of the day. And remember that even though they're called growth hacks and they have a sense of urgency, they still take time to execute. They can't be done. You can maybe do it overnight, but it might not necessarily show rewards for a few weeks to a month. So try just to remember that these growth hacks do take time to develop. So now is a little time for me to give you a little bit more about what I do. So if you're looking for more hacks like these and you like the way this was set up, I've actually created a Flojo growth hacking box that kind of gives you all these different categories inside the box with 100 different growth hacks within them. So in this box, you'll learn how to brainstorm new ideas, acquire new leads, convert leads to customers, retain customers and reduce churn, get customers to advocate for you, and find new ways to cash in. And for all of you today, I will give you a 25% off discount code if you go to this landing page and sign up for the code. It'll send you the code by email, and you'll be able to purchase it within the next 48 hours. So I hope that you enjoyed these growth hacking hacks that I had. And Talia, I guess we can start looking at answering questions that people might have.
Yes. Wow, I enjoyed that so much. I've told you, I actually have my own Flojo box, and I love it so much because I get to see like all these insane ideas that I haven't seen anywhere else. And yes, exactly that one. I don't have it next to me, sorry. But I really enjoy it. And I told you that my favorite thing about it is just that you get so many teams together to work. And usually you kind of have a lot of people trying to think of things on their own. And it's much harder to do than when you're doing it as a group together. So we have a few questions here. The first question is by Hansa. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. So how do you carry out proper research? For example, if you have to pitch for a client in the eyewear industry.
So sorry, what's the beginning part?
The beginning was, how do you carry out proper research? Hansa, maybe you want to elaborate on that in the comments, just so that Tiffany can give you the best answer. And I will check out that bit.ly link in the meantime. But how do you do your research then,
okay.
Tiffany?
Usually when I'm thinking of like a new idea for a new pitch, the last thing I do is go online and try to find stuff, to be honest. First, without any information possible, bring everyone into a room and we start looking at, there might be people in there that actually use the product. Like if we're using eyewear, for example, there might be people who know that field and know a little bit about. There might be people that don't have any idea what the industry is like or what it's like to have to buy eyewear or anything. And it becomes this information session where those people who have never dealt with it are asking certain questions, and you're writing those, someone's taking notes and writing the questions that those people have. And on the other end, you have people who are kind of experts because they've been through it, answering those questions and thinking about some of the issues that they have. And when you kind of get that, first run, no one's researched, everyone's just kind of giving their information or giving questions that they have, you're really getting kind of, I think, that gut reaction of what you think would work. And then from there, you start going into, you might leave, start researching, looking at what are the competitors doing, what are the different benefits that they're saying. Because a lot of the times what I find, especially with software, is I might have written down, let's say accounting software, I might have written down what my problems would be and what would stop me from getting accounting software, or what would make me purchase accounting software, let's say. But when I go onto their website, all they're showing me is features. Like, these are the features for the software, and nothing is talking about the benefits or the things that I'm interested in. So by doing this kind of research meeting before, you're getting at the emotions behind the product or whatever you're trying to sell, rather than what the features or benefits are. And then once you kind of learn what the competitors are doing, you're looking at analytics and looking at kind of what that's telling you, what are the different content that they might be most interested in. Or you can look at, the name's kind of Buzz, what's it called? Buzz something. It's the tool that is
BuzzSummer?
Yes. The tool that you use to look at what people are talking about in that industry as well, because you might find some interesting content there that you can use. And then what people are searching for to get to it. So that's the kind of research altogether that I would do. But in the beginning, it's really about bringing your team together away from the computer.
I love that you talk about the whole idea of not talking about your features or the pricing, but actually what's in it for me. As you know, that's like my biggest thing when it comes to conversion optimization and generally anything to do with research and any design that you put forward. I feel it's so imperative to have the customer's value right in front of them, because that's the only way to capture their attention. So I love that idea. And that's also why I also liked your comment before about the whole idea of foot in the door, because it really is about getting people to take small steps, and then later on you can get them to take additional steps. But it's a great way to get started. So just showing people their value, helping them take one small step, and then later asking for what you need to retain them.
For sure.
Okay, so the next question that we have is actually more my question. So what part of the growth hacking journey are you in right now for Flojo?
Right now, it's been mostly about acquiring. I've been looking at making sure that I'm getting, I'm being available in as many different places as possible, whether it's, doing a webinar like this, or being on Product Hunt last week, or going to Facebook groups and offering them different discounts. So I've just mostly been, before the launch happened, which was last Wednesday or Tuesday, I spent weeks, and Talia knows this, I spent weeks trying to make sure that day was as beneficial as possible, and really looking at what are every single angle, or what are all the different people that I could look at to acquire leads, and that way, so I can fill my funnel and kind of capture them either through retargeting or email later on. So acquiring has definitely been big, but eventually I'll be and it's going to start moving in a couple of weeks, making sure that those people who maybe were interested actually convert. So trying to get them back in and really focusing on that. And then when I come up with the SEO box in a few months, it's about making sure that not only am I doing the acquiring process again, but making sure those people, those customers who I had, are actually coming back and trying to rebuy from me because they like the growth hacking box so much.
Okay. Next question by JJ. How do you get your clients to buy into the growth hacking approach when they had a different idea on how marketing should be done?
I have it's weird for me because since I've been kind of doing the growth marketing thing for so long, people usually come to me with growth hacking already, like they want this. And I'm the one saying, it's not what you think. We're not going to do an Airbnb Craigslist. We need to be it's going to be a little bit more consistent tactics that have worked over time, depending on what your product is. So I get a lot of kind of the opposite. But what I found for people that might be coming for me for digital marketing is I have a bit of a growth hacking approach to everything I do. I mostly am trying to sell them on the fact that, okay, you need these results by the end of the year, and we need to make sure that this actually happens. So let's focus on this one area of the journey for now and spend the next 3 months doing it. This is all the stuff that I need from you, or I can take it on myself, depending on where you think that your team is at. And we're going to try to get, this is the expectation I have, and let's do it. So I try not to use, if the people sound a little bit more conservative, I don't use the term growth hacking, because I don't use growth hacking at all. I use growth marketing, where I'm focusing on growth. But that usually kind of changes their perspective, and they're more open to it, especially when for me, I'm coming at them with, I growth hack with SEO. I growth hack with PPC. I have all these different strategies that I use across all the different channels.
Love it. Okay. Well, I did check the link. It is broken.
Oh my God.
So don't worry about it, because what we'll do is tell us how people can find you and how they can get to you. And you can also post it over here in the chat. And after this, I am going to be sending everyone the recording of the session. We're also going to be doing a transcription of it. And I'll also add all the links in there to everything so people can have it. So all the people who mentioned they can't be on today because they need the recording will also get that. So how can people reach you?
They can go on to, I'll post the link for sure on Flojo CO on Twitter. And they can always go to flojo.co website, and they'll find me there. But I think I know the issue, so the lead page that just stopped working. So I will fix that within the next 5 minutes, and you guys will get the link.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much, Tiffany. It was so much fun having you on. And thank you everyone for attending, and for everyone who subscribed and wanted to be live but couldn't be here. We'll be sending everything soon. And you can also follow Tiffany on Twitter, and she'll be happy to answer your questions. And she's at Bella Stone.
Yes.
So we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.